A rare look at Camp Ashraf in Iraq, home to the People's Mujahideen Organization of Iran, a self-described Iranian opposition group seeking democratic change in their homeland. Many of these people have lived here since the early 1980s, when after falling out with Iran's Islamic leaders, Saddam Hussein gave them refuge in Iraq. Up until January of this year, the camp was being protected by American troops, even though the People's Mujahideen Organization of Iran is considered a terrorist group by the US. Now the camp is under Iraqi control, and the government wants to kick them out. Iraqi officials invited local and foreign media here to witness the relocation of the residents to another site in Iraq, but their security forces were determined to remain firmly in control the whole time. For the camp residents like Musa and Suri, the presence of the media was an opportunity to directly speak to the world.
No, I'm not going to leave. This is my home. I've got every right of myself. This is my right to stay here. I've spent the last 10 years here. I've paid here. I've built here. All I've done was for here, and I want to stay here.
Behzad Safari, legal advisor to the residents of Camp Ashraf, says residents are willing to leave and even head back to Iran if they're given some assurances they'll receive international protection and not be prosecuted. He says till now the government has refused.
They are ready to go to other countries, European Union countries, but not going to any other places inside Iraq, because that will be their massacre.
Loaded up in trucks and buses, Iraqi officials gave us a carefully controlled tour of our surroundings. This cloistered camp, 60 kilometers north of Baghdad, is home to 3,400 residents, 1,000 of whom are women. Iraqi police using loudspeakers announced that they're determined to close down this camp. As we drove along, they casually threw out leaflets bearing the same message to drive their point home. For Mariam, who works in the pharmacy, this place means everything to her.
Ashraf is like my home. I have been here from my childhood. I was here till I was 8 years, and I lived here when I was 8 to Sweden, and I come back again when I was 17, 18 years old.
As you see behind me, that the women have come out to greet the journalists that are here with the government. The women I have spoken to, the gentlemen I've spoken to, all put forward the same argument. This is their homes. They fear torture. They fear worse could happen to them if they were forced to go to a place like Iran, a place that they fled many years ago.
For the brigadier in charge of camp security, this is simply a matter of Iraqi sovereignty, and these Iranian dissidents are now unwelcome guests.
This is an Iraqi land, part of the Iraqi territory. It is impossible for a person who is on Iraqi territory to impose what he wants.
A number of the residents we spoke to believe Iran is putting pressure on Iraq to close the camp, and some are calling on the US to intervene. The Obama administration has already made it clear this is an Iraqi matter and they will not interfere. Back in July, when Iraqi security forces forcibly entered the camp to establish a security presence, 12 residents died in the ensuing clashes. While the media were at Ashraf, there were no forced evictions, and the government buses provided to move these camp residents to their new location stood empty. But with neither side seemingly willing to wave a white flag, the situation may not remain peaceful for much longer. Isha Sesay, CNN, Baghdad, Iraq.